Welcome to the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with the support you need to finish your book. Best part is, after you finish your book, they take care of the entire publishing and marketing process 100% for you. So, if you want to become a successful author, make sure to check out authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner, and today I have Wiley Underwood with us. She is in medical device sales with Healthtronics based in Denver, Colorado. So welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Grateful to have you on. So the first question we ask on this show, Wiley, is what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Yes. So first of all, the thing that a lot of people hear when you're trying to break into the medical device industry is go get a job with Xerox for 2 years and then come back to us. So my really life-changing story was that I did not listen to that advice and I continued to network and actually reached out to people on LinkedIn directly and, asked to get coffee, asked to interview them. And eventually someone had a connection that got me into the business. And I, from that day forward, was in medical device sales. And so I would say, the biggest thing I learned from that was that you just have to, not think that you know everything or that there's one way to get somewhere, and do your best to network.
And then what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
So that would definitely be just showing up. As Grant Cardone says, you can show up and follow up, and that's the most important thing you can do. There's no two things you could say that will blow a deal. A lot of people put a lot of anxiety on what they're going to say, how they're going to approach someone, and it's definitely important to take that into consideration. But the biggest thing that you can do is follow up and show up.
And then what is your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Right. So I would say, people say your goals might not be realistic. And I think that's kind of baloney. I think we should be unreasonable in our goals and to some extent, make sure that you're setting attainable goals, but not to set your bar too low for yourself. A lot of time we set reasonable goals thinking that, there's no chance we'll ever reach this or that, but to be kind with yourself, but definitely set unrealistic goals.
And then if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Definitely stick with your goal and your plan. And early on, I remember even in college getting a C in something that I was passionate about and thought, no, I've blown it now. I can't go for medicine was my scenario, but definitely stick with it. And, if you hit a couple of bumps in the road, learn from them and then hop up quicker than anyone else. And that's what's important.
And then in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
What's that? Sorry.
In your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
I think the key to happiness actually is attaining whatever goal it is that you set for yourself. I think when we have an ideal state for something, so whether that's your body or your friendships or your spiritual life, whenever we get our reality to reach that goal, that's when we feel happy with that. And so I think attaining your goals in a sentence is happiness.
And then what is the best book that you've read and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Other than the Better Business book?
Yes.
Okay, I would say it's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Absolutely. It changed my relationships in my personal life, in my professional life. And I started to see things that I was maybe already doing that I needed confirmation were the right things to, handle people. And it really can some of those pointers can really help you in a lot of different areas. The biggest thing for me was to talk about what someone wants to talk about. So instead of talking about yourself, learn what they like and focus on that.
And then what is your favorite quote and why?
Favorite quote is aim for the moon and land among the stars. I think that kind of goes along with the don't be reasonable with your goals. I think it's really important to shoot for the moon instead of the stars. So shoot for the highest thing you think you can achieve or want to achieve and go for it. Then the worst case that can happen is you miss that by a little bit, but you'll still be successful in your goal. So
yes. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you before we let you go is where can our audience best find you online?
Absolutely. Happy to be here. So I am most active on Instagram, actually, and my name is Wiley Underwood, Wiley, and all of my links are there. So it's a great central spot.
Perfect. Thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you for listening to the Business Blast podcast. So for all my listeners out there that have been wanting to do your own podcast, I'd like to introduce to you Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. So before I found Anchor, I had never actually done a podcast because all the research that I had gathered made it seem very complex. Then I found Anchor, and Anchor makes podcasting extremely simple. So if you want to do your own podcast, go to anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.